There is an old saying in the real estate market that says, position, position and position. In the case of a holiday let there is nothing truer. In the area I live and work in, which is the Blue Mountains of New South Wales, we have some locations with spectacular views, others in residential areas and some in forested or bush areas. The location of this area is within 2 hours' drive of most of central Sydney. Most other holiday lets are located on the coastal fringe where the majority of the Australian population lives. Here are the general criteria that you must think about when choosing the property that will have the most appeal to holidaymakers. It must be within relatively easy reach of a major population centre. That means that it is connected by reasonably rapid forms of transportation such as road, rail or air. In the case of the Blue Mountains we have an excellent dual-lane highway connecting the centre of Sydney to the area. It takes no more than 2 to 3 hours for anyone in the metropolitan area to get to our spectacular mountains by road or rail. Consequently, the majority of our business comes from that metropolitan area. Interstate or overseas visitors can fly into our domestic airport where there are plenty of hire car facilities, and a railway station enabling them to rapidly get to our area.
There must be local attractions that will appeal to your potential guests. In our case, the area is a national park with many walking tracks, and fantastic scenery such as world-renowned sites like the Three Sisters, Wentworth Falls, the Jameson Valley, the Megalong Valley, a lake, and spectacular views from easy-to-get-at public locations. Scenic world, art and cultural centers, hotels and restaurants, specialty shops, convention centers, scenic bus tours, a steam train museum, stately homes and gardens are just a few of the man-made facilities there for the enjoyment of the public. Many of these are free or at a very low cost, and are family-friendly. Unless you are appealing to those who want to be in a very quiet or isolated location, then a property in such a position will not appeal to many family groups. Children will generally need something to keep them entertained on a daily basis. Something like a historic village that closes down at night, or has only 1 or 2 points of interest is not likely to be able to maintain a family's attention, and will not get very many bookings.
Is there a lot of free publicity given to your chosen area? Is there a local chamber of commerce or tourist authority that is publicizing the area regularly? You have no doubt seen a plethora of television shows featuring great locations for your next holiday. This may be for a specific season such as whale watching, turtles hatching, fishing season or animal migration as a feature of the natural world. Alternatively, it might be an arts festival or sporting activity. Whatever it is, you want it to be something that is not just a one-off for a short period. You don't want something that means you will be overloaded for 1 month and then begging for trade for the rest of the year. You really need something that will appeal to guests for at least 6 months in order to make a reasonable return on your investment. Day trippers are of no great interest to you as they will simply swoop in for the attraction of the day, such as a fair or an open garden, then leave. Great if you're in the business of supplying food, but you need something that will keep them there for at least 1, or preferably 2 nights, maybe even a week. Essentially, you need something that will keep your guests interested for as many days as possible and consequently require a number of nights accommodation in order to take it all in.
Off-street parking is desirable if the majority of your guests will be coming by car. It does not mean that you have to supply undercover parking or a garage. Many people are very particular about their cars and parking arrangements. In some cases I have had the opportunity of taking on quite luxurious apartments but with no parking whatsoever, unless you walk several hundred meters to a public car park. This is no fun at all on a rainy night when you are carrying your luggage in a strange area with confusing parking arrangements. If the accommodation has parking, but is in a multi-story building, how easy is it to get to lifts? Many people will not stay in the property if it has stairs for a variety of reasons. They could be elderly, or alternatively have a family member with limited mobility. Whatever the reason, you have to make it as easy as possible to access the property carrying luggage, groceries, sporting goods or other heavy objects.
Being close to public transport is always helpful. Interstate or overseas travelers may be arriving by public transport and continually need that facility to be able to get around the area for recreation or shops.
A shopping center needs to be reasonably close. Even if you provide some basic foodstuffs, your guests will have individual requirements that need to be satisfied. If the nearest shops are 20 kilometers away, then it is a real pain if you want a loaf of bread, or a liter of milk and have to get in your car, and travel for a long distance for a minor item.
Wooded areas are becoming more of a problem. With climate change issues becoming more apparent, a location in a wooded area may be a real liability with fire risk. A property in an isolated area with a single road access may appear to be romantic, but can be a huge risk in the event of a fire. In our area of the Blue Mountains of New South Wales, the local council requires you to submit a development application if the property is in a fire zone. You may also have to come up with an emergency evacuation plan, and include this in the information you supply to your guests.
The style of the property is a moving feast. When I first started in the business, most guests were looking for older style picturesque properties with a lot of character, such as miners' cottages, and relatively small properties that were quite basic. However, times have changed and expectations with them. I am now finding that more modern properties with multiple bathrooms are more popular than older style family homes with single bathrooms. Admittedly, my experience is with houses rather than apartments, but I think you will find it is much the same. Whichever category your property falls into, it needs to appear clean and bright with excellent lighting. Older style properties with dark wood paneling that seem gloomy are simply not as popular.
Wood fires are extremely popular with guests here in the Blue Mountains. I would not expect to have something like that in a city apartment, but here, our peak season is in the wintertime, and it appears to be many people's dream to sit alongside a wood fire on a cold night. An open fire is not such a good idea as they are not at all efficient, spit out sparks, and can smoke. The best type of wood fire is an enclosed slow combustion style with a glass front where you can see the flames and feel the heat but have everything completely under control with the minimum fire risk. A fire screen in front of it is essential if you have kids around.
It is a distinct advantage if you have a property with a great view. Ideally, large glass windows in the living area, and a deck overlooking the view give you the best of both worlds, no matter what the weather.
Do you think that the property you are looking at meets these criteria? Just because it appeals to you, it does not mean that it will have broad appeal to everybody else, or comply with local regulations. Remember, if you are buying it as a potential holiday let, the appeal must be as broad as possible. After many years in the business, we have other helpful hints to make your property a successful and profitable holiday let. See our next video in this series, or call Jeffrey at Blue Mountains Getaways.